Hi everyone, welcome to CubsCast. CubsCast is brought to you by Chicago Style Sports. Visit Chicago Style Sports by clicking the link below in the description to read about any of these and other fantastic Cubs news, rumors, and other types of information. CubsCast is a quick video series in which we're going to talk about all the newest rumors, news, information, anything pertaining to the Chicago Cubs, and put it out to you. And at the very end of it, the most important part is hopefully looking for your responses back. What do you think about the news and information that we covered? What do you think that the Cubs will do or should do or could do? What are your thoughts? What are your messages that you would like to send out there? So definitely, when we're done listening to the video, comment below. I'll make sure to follow along and answer back. Some of the comments might end up in one of the stories that we write on Chicago Style Sports. So without further ado, let's get right into the Cubs news. So the first thing is going to be their pitching search. The Cubs are searching high and low. They're uncovering every single rock possible for a pitcher. We've heard things from the aspect of Cubs looking for free agents. They're talking about trades. Some of the newest stories that we're hearing just the other day, Bob Nightingale, he had mentioned that the Cubs are very much in on Jake Arrieta, and they're in on him, but to their terms. They're only really looking at him if they can acquire Jake at their price, their length. And so far from what he is saying is they're looking for a 4-year, $110 million deal for Jake. Now this makes sense for the Cubs to do. It might not make sense for Jake Arrieta to do. The latter part of that could all depend on what happens with Jake and how long he waits out. I had a theory earlier in the offseason that Jake might want to play his cards kind of smartly on this one. The way that the baseball offseason is moving, it seems like the market is moving back towards the favor of teams, and it's not like teams aren't afraid of putting out a huge AAV per year, so maybe instead of a $25 million deal that Jake was asking for, maybe he gets like a $27, $28, $29 million average per year, but they're going to do it on a shorter term. This, in the Cubs sense, it makes sense to do something on a shorter term because here are the Cubs in 4, 5, 6, 7 years. That's when their young core is going to start to want free agent contracts, or they're going to become free agents, and they're going to be looking for much bigger contracts at that point. Tying up a pitcher like Jake Arrieta, that's 32 now, at the end of a 6-year contract, he's going to be 38. The Cubs would be paying him $25 million in probably 3 years, where he's not overly effective at all, and then it's going to cause problems for the Cubs when they look to re-sign some of these young bats that have proven to be more than well worth whatever they're going to go ahead and ask for once they become free agents. So it's not like the Cubs don't have the money to spend on these guys. They could give them all $25 million contracts. The problem is going to come when they're looking at the luxury tax, how much money they're going to start to have to pay into the luxury tax, especially after a 3rd year in a row of going over. They also have to look at the draft compensation. Say they were to offer Chris Bryant a qualifying offer, he declines and then ends up signing a mega deal somewhere else to play. If the Cubs are over the luxury tax at that point, they can only get a pick that's going to be between the 4th and 5th rounds of the draft. There's a lot of things that go into that place, and that's going to be why the Cubs are going to... They're not going to want to go to a 5th year. They're not going to want to go to a 6th year for a Jake Arrieta. It's not a knock on him. He's very much worth that contract in the scope of baseball contracts. When it comes down to it, it's just not going to play well for the Cubs. Today, and I think this one was Dave Kaplan had broken this one. It's the Cubs had offered Alex Cobb a 3-year, $42 million deal, in which he declined. That deal would have paid him about $14 million on average per year, and that's kind of where we've been hearing Alex Cobb is getting offers, is in that 13.5 to maybe $15 million per year on average. We had earlier kind of heard rumors on him getting 4-year contract offers. I don't know the validity of that, especially now that we're learning a little bit more on how this offseason is moving. But you know, he was offered that deal. He declined that deal. And it's said that he's looking at a 4-year deal and somewhere in the neighborhood of $17 to $19 million per year. That the question that I have is, how does he think he's going to jump up into that $17 to $19 million average value? Had him kind of pegged at $15 million all day long. Also had him pegged at a 4-year deal. Again, the market seems to not want to give out anything longer than 3, but that's yet to be seen. I think he could be another one of those guys in which, if he continues to wait and wait and wait, like sooner or later, like we're in January now, teams start to report, pitchers and catchers start to report to spring training in February. Their window to make this money, it's closing. We remember back in between the 2015 and 2016 season where Dexter Fowler, he bet on himself. He went to free agency. He thought he was going to get this huge mega deal, and it just never really came. And then he came back to the Cubs on a 1-year deal, and a deal that's he got paid well, but that deal favored the Cubs. And I think some of these pitchers, they might start running into that same type of scenario where, as we're getting further and further into the offseason and spring training is now right around the corner, they're going to have to start making the decisions to accept some of these offers. Otherwise, some of those offers might not be there. Like, the teams might move on to the Lance Lynn's of the world or to the Andrew Kashners of the world. Those are very good pitchers, and they might not be at the caliber of a Jake Arrieta or a Yu Darvish or even an Alex Cobb, but they're good quality pitchers that a team can sign to a reasonable deal, and they can move on with their offseason, not allow some of the higher priced free agent pitchers to kind of hold up their offseason. Moving along, it sounds like Yu Darvish he's deciding between the Cubs and the Astros. I think the Rangers are also at play. Also hearing reports, and I don't know if those were dispelled again or if it actually is happening again or what, but he's meeting with Minnesota Twins. Yu would be another person that I would love to have in the Cubs rotation. Some of those same rules apply to him that I mentioned with Jake. Again, he's a great pitcher, and I'd love to have him Cubs rotation, but I think that he needs to make a decision pretty quickly, and I kind of feel that he's going to be the first one to make the decision. The way that the momentum that I'm reading behind him on social media, like it just feels that he's nearing that point where he's going to make a decision here pretty shortly. As soon as he does, expect Jake Arrieta to fall soon after. After Arrieta's gone off the table, Alex Cobb's going to happen, and then after those 3 guys are off the table, then we're going to get into those other guys, and they'll start to make decisions as well. We've also heard things on the Cubs being interested in Gerrit Cole. Now, there's a lot of people that will say that the Pirates would never trade with the Cubs. Well, that's just kind of factually inaccurate. The Pirates and Cubs have had a pretty strong trading history. They've done it quite a bit in the past, and the most notable was back in 2008 when the Cubs acquired Aramis Ramirez, they acquired Kenny Lofton, they acquired Randall Simon, all from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Trading within the division sometimes is tougher to get done, especially when you're looking at your really good young players, but it's not impossible to get done. If the Cubs have the best deal on the table for Gerrit Cole, the Pirates are going to take it. They're not idiots. Not taking the best deal on the table just because the team is in the division, it doesn't help your ball club get better in the future. And that's really what their goal is to try to get better in the future. We're going to go ahead and move on to the Cubs leadoff, the leadoff hitter here. Oddly, I have leadoff as second bullet point here on my list, but and I kind of think that Theo Epstein has leadoff as like the 5th thing on his list to do. He had mentioned in the end of season press conference, like, having a leadoff hitter is a luxury. It's not something that they see as a huge value to the team. There's some value there, but they would much rather look at having solid pitching, solid defense, great hitting, high on base percentages all around. They would look at things like that before they would look at that prototypical true leadoff hitter, a guy that's going to get on base, that bunts, that steals bases, that does those sorts of things. Those sorts of things are important to a team that might not be built off of power. But the Cubs, that's how they score runs, is via power, via those extra base hits, via the home runs. They want guys that are going to be consistently on base. It doesn't matter if they're stealing bases at that point. And the Cubs have plenty of guys that can get on base, that can sit there in that leadoff position and get on base. But that doesn't stop some of the rumors from coming out. And something that we heard from Bruce Levine, the Cubs could be serious players for Lorenzo Cain. He's a guy who plays center field. They're going to cause issue with playing time with Albert Almora. Maybe you sign Lorenzo Cain, trade Almora for pitching, or like Bruce Levine mentioned, you sign Alex Cobb to a reasonable contract. You have enough money left over to also sign Lorenzo Cain to a reasonable contract. The other person that we're hearing about is the Marlins' Christian Yelich. It sounds like the Marlins are open to sell. They're going to go ahead and trade anybody. My concern there is, to get him, you're going to have to trade Albert Almora to Miami, and then some. Maybe another 25-man type guy. More than likely, it's going to be young prospects, probably from their young pitching core, like an Alex Lang. I don't know if I am in love with a trade out there, but if I'm going to pick between those two guys, I definitely pick Yelich over Lorenzo Cain. He's younger. You're going to be paying for the best years of him, whereas Cain, you're going to be paying for his production from the past, and he's going to slowly decline. The last thing here that we're going to touch on, the 33rd Annual Cubs Convention is going to be next weekend, January 12th through the 14th at the Sheraton Grand Hotel in Chicago. Every single year, there's tons and tons and tons of first-timers. So the big thing I want everybody to kind of know or understand before they go into it. I know the last couple of years I saw a lot of disappointment in Cubs fans' faces when they realized they can't just get an autograph from anybody. And when you come in, you're going to get a nice little goodie bag. Inside the goodie bag, there's a pull tab. That pull tab, when you pull it, it's going to show you if you won an autograph, and it'll tell you of which player you won the autograph of. Not everybody's going to win the autograph. Some people might get like $25 off a $100 purchase at Dick's Sporting Goods. Just kind of go in expecting to get that coupon and not get a player autograph, and probably end up being more pleasing to you than assuming that you're getting to get Chris Bryant's and Anthony Rizzo's and Wilson Contreras' autographs, and you come up with a $25 off coupon. There is another way to get autographs outside of those pool cards. The players are going to have like personal sessions. Those typically take a donation. Expect it to be like $375 or maybe $400 this year. The other way is, at some of those Q&A sessions, the players will come off and some will sign. Now, last year, they changed things up from the way that they were previously doing it. As players came off the stage, there was kind of like a little holding area where fans can go over and the players will sign some things. They really deterred the players away from it. It seems like they're really advising players and any of the coaches and staff to not sign at that point. And some might stop, some might sign there. The other way, and it's not personalized, but there's a huge vendor row at the Cubs convention. The main lobby of the bottom floor, it's just filled with vendors. Tons of those vendors have tons of autographs. You can get any player from basically any era of Cubs baseball down there. It's going to cost you, I don't know if it's going to cost you $350. You could choose between having a Chris Bryant autographed baseball bat, or a ball, or a hat, or a jersey, or pictures, or whatever it might be. The other things too, so really Friday is going to have the opening ceremonies. Usually the opening ceremonies are really cool. Last year's was 1,000% beyond whatever anybody can imagine. Outside of that, usually Ryan Dempster has a little late night late night parody show. Early Saturday morning, typically what happens is the owners usually are that first slot in the morning. So the Ricketts would come out. You have your Q&A with the Ricketts. The second slot is usually Theo, Jed, and the rest. After that, you're going to get a mix of players. You'll have the coaches, Joe Madden and the new coaches. That's certainly going to be a hot Q&A session. But it's really cool because you're going to be able to ask Theo, you're going to be able to ask Joe Madden, you're going to be able to ask these guys what prompted them to get rid of the old coaches and what prompted you to bring these new guys in, and they're going to give you honest answers. The other things too, check out Cubs social media. In the past they've done things like scavenger hunts, posted pictures of certain areas or different things that they want you to find. So that's kind of cool. There's going to be different stations too where you can take a little selfie with something, post it to social media, chances to win other things like that. Your Friday and Saturday are going to be big days. They're going to have like Cubs bingo at night on Saturday. Come Sunday, mostly Sunday is done. Come Sunday morning, there isn't much left to do. You're going to be able to maybe take some advantage of some like garage sale type of items, some items that they just have to absolutely get rid of. They'll just go ahead and give away. Really, Sunday is getaway day. If you're to miss out on Sunday morning, definitely do not feel bad. Also, around the Cubs convention, they have a couple of different restaurants inside the Sheraton. They also have a main bar inside the Sheraton. Now, the bar and the restaurants are going to constantly be packed. There's tons of places all around the Sheraton there where you can go and get something to eat. At the hotel, you're paying a huge upcharge for anything that you're buying, food related or alcohol related. So just kind of go off site whenever you get a chance. We had lunch off site. We went to dinner off site. We did all those things off site, and they were really cool. So thank you for checking out CubsCast. Make sure to go ahead and visit Chicago Style Sports at the link in the description below. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. And then also, too, I have a couple of my sponsors down below. We're going to have Major League Shop. Some of them have great deals going on offering free shipping, and any of their clearance items are heavily discounted as well. So go ahead, check those out, check out the sponsors, and I will see you next time. Thanks, go Cubs go.